Hey guys, what's up? It's Zola, and today I'm just going to be taking a quick break from the filters section because something has come to my attention, which is the new 2015.3 update, I believe, of After Effects. I woke up this morning and there's new Photoshop, new After Effects, new Illustrator. All the apps have been updated with little things here and there. Now, in terms of After Effects, a lot of the things that are going on are under the hood, so you can't really tell. It's just like performance improvements, supposedly, and stuff like that. But there is one thing which is pretty cool, and it's something I've not really touched on as well. But I did kind of hint at like 3D in After Effects, and I've explained how that works. But they've actually made live text and shapes updatable with Cineware and After Effects, which is actually pretty damn cool because it means you can make 3D text really quick by going back and forth between Cinema 4D Lite, which ships with all copies of After Effects, so everyone should have it installed somewhere. You probably won't realize it because it installs it in the background when you install After Effects, but you should have a basic version of Cinema 4D if you have the new After Effects. So I think maybe let's kind of just show you what I mean. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new composition, and I'm going to call this Sheriff. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a super basic, again, just please bear in mind this is not a tutorial for style or anything like that. This is just me purely showing you what this new feature does. So I'm going to draw a star here. Now by default this polystar shape is pretty horrific for me, but if you come into the path you can change the radius for it to be more star shaped, I guess. And let's give it a stroke. I'm pretty sure this makes a difference, so I'm going to give it a stroke. And actually it doesn't really matter because I'll probably end up changing it, but let's do it anyway. Let's have this one a light shade of that, and let's have the fill kind of like golden orange-ish color. So that's our star. Let's call this star, and then I'm just gonna type on top of it Sheriff with this wild westerny font that I have. Not going to take too much time over this. I'm going to make both of them 3D, which is quite important, and I'm going to create a new camera. So I'm going to go layer, new camera, and I'm going to hit OK. So if I press C now, you'll see that's basically what I have. If I tumble my camera around, we have flat text and a flat shape, as you might be able to tell. So at least let's move the text forward somewhat so that it's separated from the star, which is what I've done there. And I'm gonna hit save, which is quite important. Now one thing to note before you do any of this, because I had some problems initially, just a couple of gotchas. One thing I had to do is right click on my After Effects 2015.3, right click and go with run as administrator, otherwise I was getting a problem with the ports and stuff. So if you get a problem with the ports and you're on PC, try running it as an administrator. Also, if I create a new solid here and I come up to my effects and drop Cineware onto it, it's going to say no file detected, blah blah blah, don't worry about that. Come up to your options, and I had to change my port to 5027 instead of 5030, which is what it was by default. Once you change that, it's going to ask you to purge your cache, which you do. You come up to edit, purge, and then do all memory and disk cache, and then restart After Effects as well. Once you've done all those things, this should work fine. If you have any problems, try all those steps and it should hopefully work for you. So I'm going to save this now, and what we have to do is save this composition as a Cinema 4D file, which is done by going to File, Export, and Maxon Cinema Exporter. Now you've got two options. You can preserve text, which will let us change our text in Cinema 4D, or we can make it a shape. So what I'm going to do is preserve text. It's not going to be quite as accurate as it is in the comp, but it's going to allow us that if we want to change the word from sheriff or we want to change the font, we can do that in Cinema 4D. So I'm going to hit OK and just save your file somewhere. So I'm going to save this here. As you can see, I kind of already had one made when I was testing this out earlier. Just going to overwrite that and hit yes. Okay, so now that we've made this comp, we need to import the Cinema 4D file into After Effects, which is a bit confusing because we've just exported it from here, but now we need to import it again. So we go to File, Import, find our Cinema 4D file. It's the one with the little globe, and we're going to hit OK. And there you'll have a Cinema 4D file. Now if you hit Control E on PC, or I guess Command E on Mac, it should open it in Cinema 4D. Now I have Studio, so it's going to open in that. If you have Cineware, it will open it in Cineware, which is kind of like a basic version of Cinema 4D. So it's going to do that. And here we have it. So as you can see, this isn't quite what we expected in terms of this, and that's because we've chose to have this editable, but fear not, you know, we can sort that out in here. So the way this is working, I haven't done any Cinema 4D tutorials yet. So first thing I'm going to do is select this whole thing and move it centralized to our star. If you hold free on your keyboard, you can, and then just drag, you can tumble around with your camera. So what has happened here, again, this isn't really a Cinema 4D tutorial, I'm just going to explain really briefly what's going on, is we have a camera which is being made because we made a camera in here. We have 3D text, which is basically this, and you can find that here. So we have down in the options, and I just realized that my layout here probably isn't, there we go. I'm going to just line this up with my After Effects comp, which I know to be the measurements of our comp. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, we have the text file, which is here. So this has all the text properties you would expect. You can change the height, which is basically the size, spacing, left and right. Basically all the options. Obviously there's no vertical, and then you have the plane in which it's doing it, and then you have the font, which is here. So if I wanted to change the font, I would select that, and then you get all these other ones. I might change it to a regular one instead of the one that has holes in. Let's do that. At least that way I can show you how it, and then it updates, and then this is being extruded through here. So what an extrusion is basically the depth. So if I increase this in the Z, which is this direction, you can see we're making our text thicker. So if I come back into this, now you'll see the text is a lot thicker. The star itself has been given an extrusion, so let's have a look at that. If we select the object, we'll see we have one for the stroke and one for the fill. And we can make let's maybe make the stroke bigger and maybe move that forward. So there's kind of like a cap here. And you can add like little bevels as well. So let's maybe add a bevel to the star. So we're going to select the star. We're going to change this to fillet cap on the front and back, and as you can see now we have a join here, and I'm just going to give this 2 subdivisions and make it a bit smaller, so maybe down to 2, and match that on the front, down to 2. So now we've got a subtle bevel there, and if we bring this out, and there we have it, that's our scene. We have our textures down here. Obviously I'm kind of like minimizing my workspace here. My workspace will probably look different to yours, but down here we have the materials, and again this isn't really a Cinema 4D tutorial, and I'm not quite sure why I'm not able to bring that window up. So maybe let's close the axis center. There we go. So we got the 3 materials which have been roughly based off the colors we made in here, but then you can come into things and maybe make them reflective. So if we come into this orange material, which is our backboard here, I'm going to add a Beckman, which is going to make it reflective, and I'm just going to add like a Fresnel to it as well, and a conductor, and just increase that a tiny bit, and maybe make the reflection strength not quite as strong, speculate, and then oh yeah, one more thing. If you come up to edit and preferences, for this to work, if you want to do the live update thing, you have to come into the communications live link and make sure that's ticked, and then you probably will have to restart Cinema as well. So just so you know. So what I'm going to do is hit Control S here to save this scene and come into After Effects. Now what I'm going to do is I have this scene here, but I need to drop it into composition, so I'm just going to create a new comp from it and just drop it into there. And as you can see here, now we have a preview of what's going on in here. So we've got the same angle, the same camera, etc. So what it's done is made our Cinema 4D file, and we've got the Cineware plugin. Now if you haven't used this before, it's literally a tutorial series by itself. I'm not really going to show you how it works today, but the first thing you're going to want to do is enable live link, which is going to add all these settings down here, and then I'm going to change the software, the renderer from software to final, which will give us a final preview of what it would look like in here if I hit Control R. And what you can do now is if we come into here and add something like a light. Now as it happens, this light is currently behind my star, so I'm going to bring it forward. Make sure I have my light selected. Bring the light forward, bring it up as well, rotate it, hit R to rotate, and just add that up there, and bring this out, and save again. And as you can see here, the lighting has changed now. If I come into here and turn shadows to soft and save it as well, again, always save, and then you'll see it updating here. Now we have shadows, and you can basically just dial them back here, come into here, and you will see different things happening. So there I've reduced the intensity of the light. If I come into the shadow, I can reduce the density of the shadows down here, hit save, come into here, and you'll see now the shadows are a lot less dense. So I'll save that again, come into here, and that's cool. And then when you're kind of like happy with it, you can also set up your camera animation in here. So you could just hit that and then move here, and maybe move the camera, if we look at the side view, in a bit, and maybe down a bit, and add another keyframe and save it. Now if we come into here, we're going to see we have animation as we're moving into our star. And the cool thing about this is now we're in After Effects, we can add a background. So if I create a new ramp, just going to place this behind here, but come up to here, make a ramp, gradient ramp. You know, you have all these kind of like the options that you would expect, and you can go ahead and create something cool in the background, and you have all the possibilities of adding glows and all the other crazy stuff that After Effects comes with, which I'm obviously gonna go into more as we get into the filters, but you can do all that kind of jazz. And yeah, so there you go, you've got a dynamic link between this file, and it's pretty cool because if I come into here, and like I said before, if I want to change my text, only thing I have to do is select this, change that to this other one, save it, come into here, and it's going to update. So really powerful workflow. I can definitely see myself using this if I'm going into places just to do some 3D, and they might not have cinema, but they always have the basic version of Cineware, which is built in with After Effects everywhere. So it's pretty cool to know this is definitely available behind the locker. And you can do other stuff, like you can drop I don't know, bend in here, and if I'm just going to do the default one here, but if I save that, it's good to know that all the bends and stuff work as well. So you can definitely do some pretty cool animations, but obviously we'll get into Cinema 4D another day. And that's it. You can extract this when you're all happy, and then what this will do is give you a camera in here, and then I believe, I'm not sure if I don't really use this whole thing in here apparently, but you can basically do is get the light. So here we have, if we come into our custom comp, our custom view, so what it's done is giving us a light from exactly where it is in here, because in After Effects you can add like lens flares to lights, and using the camera data I can then comp some things into the scene in After Effects as well. So if I come into here, knowing that we have this camera data and this is accurate to what we did in here, I can create a new layer, almost make like a kind of cloud, I guess. And I'm just going to really roughly create a really shoddy cloud and feather that out. But we know that if we make this, not that one, if we make this 3D now, it's going to move with the camera because we've got the camera data. So as you can see now, the cloud is in front. I'm going to turn off this horrible glow for a second. So if we move this around and place it behind the 3D text here, and we know it's going to move with our camera data, which is pretty cool. So it allows us to still comp stuff in After Effects but using the data from Cinema 4D. So that's a brief overview of the 2015.3 update, and definitely some cool stuff in there, so go and have fun with that, and I'll see you another day.